I can already see the comments on this video, and I'm just mentally preparing myself. Okay, so in the most recent PTB, one of the most problematic perks that has come out over the past year or so made for this is finally getting nerfed. Now, I've already made an entire video on Made for this. Multiple creators have already made an entire video on Made for this. We have already shown the math over and over again about how powerful Made for this is, about how oppressive it is. Made for this was a problem, and it is a good thing it's getting nerfed. Now, the nerf that it's getting has changed it from a staple perk or a meta perk to something that you only use when combining with certain builds. And it just only received a simple change. The 3% speed boost is still there, but now you get it only when you're deep wounded, and exhaustion no longer removes the speed boost, which, I mean, I wanted that perk to fucking die, so I would have accepted the exhaustion staying, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that the speed boost is still there, but it's only situational, and so hopefully this means that the perk is just going to completely and utterly stop seeing usage. That being said, when the perk got nerfed, the developers, in their infinite brilliance, put in the community notes that they acknowledge that every little change or every little speed boost, no matter how small, matters. And some people have taken this to mean that they should nerf the Bloodlust mechanic. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bloodlust mechanic, Bloodlust is something that killers get when they have been chasing a survivor for 15, 30, and 45 seconds, I believe, without breaking a pallet, landing a hit, or using their power, then they get a tier of Bloodlust. So tier 1 at 15, tier 2 at 30, tier 3 at 45. And each tier of Bloodlust gives them an additional speed boost. And I should probably have looked this up before I actually started recording the video, but I'm just going to keep talking to keep you engaged while I load this up and pretend like I knew it all the time. So tier 1 gives you a 0.2 meters a second, so a 5%, a 15%, and then a 20% speed boost is, yeah, a 5, 10, and 15% speed boost. And I'm sorry, it's 15, 25, or 35 seconds. I could have swore it was 15, 30, 45. So that is how Bloodlust works. And the big argument from people is that Bloodlust is basically a free win for the killer. And I feel like I can't believe I have to explain this. I've done an entire video on this concept, but you, as the individual survivor, are not supposed to be stronger than the killer. It is supposed to be the sum of you and your team versus the killer, and that is where the equalization of power comes from. If a killer is entering a Bloodlust state, that means one of two things. Number one, they are probably an M1 killer and they need that Bloodlust to begin with. Or number two, they are throwing. Because if you ever, as a killer, find yourself in Bloodlust tier 2, you have been chasing that survivor for too long. And you have probably not been proactive during that. But out of curiosity and for basically research purposes, a few days ago, I posted on my community post asking you guys, do you think Bloodlust needs to be removed? And which role do you play? Now, I got a various mix of responses from killers and survivors, including a few who are survivor mains and have been for a very long time. I think somebody in that comment section told me they've been a survivor main for like, yeah, here it is. I have 2,000 hours and only play survivor. This comes from Any444. They say, from my perspective, I think Bloodlust needs some tweaks. Like if the killer swings and misses, he should lose a tier or 2. And I don't think that killers need tier 3 Bloodlust to catch survivors. It seems excessive to me, but others may disagree. So I got responses like that. I got another person says they only play killer for 2.3 thousand hours. Bloodlust is fine, and if a killer is regularly hitting BL3, then they don't know how to play the loop correctly or are in a part of the map they shouldn't commit to chases in. When I hit BL3, I always think to myself, wow, you're getting juice, better finish this quick before 3 gens pop. Then I lean into the monitor because no matter what others say, it makes me play better. That's really funny. And then I proceed to get 4-man outed. That's even funnier. And this comes from well, you know who you are. The point is that you can see the difference in the thought process between the two types. Both of these people have roughly the same amount of hours. They both only play one side, and they both have a different viewpoint of the bloodlust mechanic. And I think that a lot of this comes from the fact of perception, which is something that I've talked about in the past. Now, bloodlust, in my opinion, is something that is necessary, especially because for me, I tend to favor M1 killers, right? Trapper, Pig, Wraith, Dredge, Demogorgon. Well, I guess Demogorgon's an M2 killer, so ignore Demogorgon. The point is that I tend to like M1 killers who have a backup ability to help them catch up, but at the end of the day, they're still M1 killers. Now, the problem with this is that Bloodlust is there to help M1 killers. It does not, sorry, not the problem. The thing about this is that unlike most killer boosts in the game, where they are incredibly oppressive on high tier killers, and then they're there to, if they get removed, they'll punish M1 killers. Bloodlust is a mechanic that only helps M1 killers, because most M1 killers are not utilizing their power throughout chase. Which is why Rapid Brutality was such an ironic perk to release, because Bloodlust was there to help M1 killers. And that's also why Rapid Brutality is really only good. Listen, I don't care what you guys say. I'm so sick of hearing it. Or if you combine Save the Best for Last or Rapid, I already know, okay? I already know. The point is that if you throw Rapid Brutality and Save the Best for Last on Trapper, it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. It just won't, because the point of Bloodlust is to help you get that first initial hit to begin with. The only reason something like Rapid Brutality works on someone like Clown is because he has a power to help him catch up. You get my point? Okay. That being said, I think that Bloodlust as a mechanic is something that really and utterly needs to be looked at a little bit more. I think that tier 3 needs to be taken away, and it should only be tier 2. And the reason I don't want to get rid of tier 2 is because I think that Bloodlust is a great learning tool for recognizing when you have been in chase for too long. And I think that in the future, when I eventually make a killer guide, I'm going to talk at length about how to use Bloodlust as a way to train yourself to know how to mentally understand when you should be leaving loops. But at the same time, I understand from survivors' perspectives why Bloodlust seems like such a pain in the ass. And it's because a chase that you are winning as Survivor can get lost because Bloodlust is there. But again, it's there to even the playing field. You running a killer for fucking 5 gens should not be a thing. It shouldn't ever be a thing. You shouldn't ever be able to do that. And so Bloodlust as a mechanic is there to help you is there to help the killer stop you from doing that. And I think that a lot of survivors have it in their heads that they shouldn't have to deal with Bloodlust. Now, I did have one person, I don't remember if it was my comment section, I think it was in my chat. One person said they hate it when the killer forces Bloodlust. And what they meant by that was when you get to one of those loops where the killer, it's a safe loop, right? You drop the pallet and the killer technically shouldn't catch you. The killers technically shouldn't catch you because it's safe. You should be able to vault the pallet over and over again until the killer's forced to break it. But the killer might chase you around that loop until they Bloodlust 2 or 3, and then they're going to catch you no matter what. And I understand that seems frustrating, but you got to understand, to get to that point, the killer wasted 35 seconds of their time. And that 35 seconds they spent chasing you at that one loop to get their one hit, that's not going to, that helps your team more than anything. Now, granted, in Solar Q Survivor, it's not the greatest thing in the world because you are more than likely to have at least 1 to 2 teammates that are not doing gens, probably a flashlight saver who's standing in the corner for that whole 35, 45 second chase. And then when you finally get down, they miss the save anyway. But the Bloodlust is Bloodlust is a mechanic that needs to stick around. And as much as I understand how infuriating it can be to go against sometimes, you also have to understand how necessary the mechanic is. Now, something I do want to talk about is there a replacement for Bloodlust? And I don't think there is. I've heard some people say that they think that maybe the killers should get like percentage boost to their movement speed for like every 2 hooks they get or something like somebody suggested that one time. They were like, every 2 hooks you get 1% more movement speed. That doesn't solve the problem. But I also have, I also tried to think, like, could there be something to replace Bloodlust? And outside of straight up overbuffing M1 killers, I don't think there is. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think Bloodlust needs to stay. I think it's an incredibly important mechanic, and yeah, all of that. But of course, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear them. And as always, a special thank you to my channel members, Peter RJ, Cinegrim, The Cannibal Main, Spirit Upgrades, and Nuclear Bomb for their additional support. If you guys want to know how to get thanked at the end of videos as well as see videos early, make sure you click that join button down below to find out how to become a channel member today. Other than that, I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.